Over the past 2 years, I've played Mega Man Battle Arc 4 a total of 12 separate times, which some people may argue is about 12 times too many. However, these runs were unique because in each one, I was using patch cards to keep one Double Soul permanently active for the entire run, and I limited my chip options in each run to chips that would fit the theme of each soul. This was a fun way to play the game overall, and after these 12 runs, I could finally take a break from playing Battle Arc 4. Except there's still a final 13th run of the game that I needed to do. This is my Battle Arc 4 Dark Soul run. Now, unlike in my previous 12 runs where I only played through game 1 and ended each run after the first duo fight, this time I decided to play from the beginning of the game all the way up to the fight against Golden Duo. Along the way, all I needed to do was maintain evil karma, with some notable exceptions which we'll get into later. If you're familiar with the Double Soul runs that I've done in Battle Arc 4, I do want to let you know that this video will be following a very different format. Going over every single individual fight in all 3 games of Battle Arc 4 and the post-game would be way too much, so this video will be a more general detailing of what a Dark Soul run of Battle Arc 4 looks like. As such, I'll be breaking this video up into different segments where I'll be discussing the karma system, dark chips, evil and good chips, which chips I used most in the run, and the biggest issues that came up during the run. Before getting into all of that though, I'll take this as my pander for subscribers moment in the video. I make a lot of Mega Man Battle Arc content and plan on continuing these thematic and folder limited runs in the future. Next up would actually be a run very similar to this one, since I plan on doing a Dark Soul run of Battle Arc 5 in the near future. So if you want to make sure that you get to see that run while I stream it, make sure to subscribe to my channel. But for now, let's talk about Mega Man's Dark Soul in Battle Arc 4. We'll start off by discussing the most important thing to understand about this run, which isn't actually the dark or evil chips that are available to you when you play as Dark Mega Man, but rather the karma system. Under normal circumstances, the karma system isn't really important, as it has no impact on players unless they're using dark chips. The basics of the karma system are actually simple enough to understand. In battle, Mega Man has a hidden numerical emotion value, which drops when you take damage or goes up when you deal damage with chips or recover your HP. If the emotion value drops low enough from taking repeated hits, Mega Man enters the worried emotion, which is what we want for a Dark Soul run. When Mega Man is worried, he won't be able to activate Double Souls anymore, but more importantly, you'll get access to 2 dark chips in your custom window. Now, dark chips are ridiculously strong, as we can see from our battle against Shademan in the toy Robocomps. It's only after this fight in game 1 that we get access to dark chips, so up until then you'll be playing the game normally. However, this massive power comes at a cost, as whenever you use a dark chip, your max HP is permanently decreased by 1. But that's not the only effect that dark chips have on Mega Man. Battle Arcs 4 and 5 also have a hidden karma value, which starts off at 500 at the beginning of the game. The way karma works is simple. Use a dark chip or activate your Dark Soul when your HP would drop to 0, your karma goes down. Do a battle without using a dark chip or activating your Dark Soul and your karma goes back up. When Mega Man's karma value is between 470 and 499, he'll be in a slightly evil state. He's not quite evil yet, so you still won't be able to use Dark Mega Man exclusive chips, but he's getting close. Once his karma dips below 470, you have access to dark chips at all time, and so of course, the first goal of this Dark Soul run was to get ourselves into evil karma. So let's take a look at the chips that will get us to evil karma in the first place, the dark chips. There's a total of 8 different dark chips in this game, each of which has a powerful effect, but also causes a bug when it's confirmed in a custom window, not just when you use the chip in battle. The first of these chips is of course Dark Sword, which will always appear in the Toy Robo battle against Shademan. Dark Sword deals damage equal to the highest HP value on the enemy field, up to 500, and hits in the same 2x3 range as Life Sword. This will be one of the better chips that can show up, especially since the bug it causes is just a movement bug that forces Mega Man to walk forwards during battle. Next is Dark Bomb, which is thrown 3 panels forward and deals 200 damage in a 3x3 area around the panel that it lands on. Dark Bomb's bug is the opposite of Dark Sword's, making you move backwards instead. Then there's Dark Spreader, which is a 400 damage spreader that will cause Mega Man to turn panels he steps off of into poison panels, and Dark Vulcan, which is a 24-shot Vulcan that deals 20 damage per hit and causes a confusion bug. The two potentially strongest Dark chips are Dark Cannon and Dark Lance. The latter can be really good as it deals damage equal to half the max HP of the highest HP enemy on the field, up to 999 damage. It causes a custom HP bug, but that doesn't matter when you can do shit like this. Dark Cannon, on the other hand, works like Muramasa, dealing damage equal to your missing HP. However, the bug for Dark Cannon is really annoying as it reduces your buster stats to just 1 and changes your charge attack to this worthless flower. Since I did try to use maxed buster stats and a buster bug in this run, I tried to use Dark Cannon as a finishing attack only, or only used it when I knew that I wouldn't have to rely on my buster. Lastly, there's two Dark chips that don't do damage, but are still extremely helpful. Dark Recover heals you for 1000 HP, which is basically a max HP recovery at the cost of both a battle and custom HP bug. More often than not, this chip would be paired with Dark Cannon, letting you do major damage while at 1 HP, and then heal back up to full. And finally, we have Dark Stage, one of my favorite Dark chips in this game. This chip turns your entire field into dark holes, and the enemy field into swamp panels, but causes a custom bug that reduces your custom window by 1 chip. However, having a field with 9 dark holes is really good, since they power up the DS Navi chips that you'll have access to in this run. Speaking of chips that you get access to as Evil Mega Man, let's talk about the evil chips. Balnark 4 players may know of the 5 evil chips in the game, including Muramasa, Anubis, Blackwing, Element Dark, and the Bug Charge and Bug Curse Giga chips, depending on the version of the game that you're playing. For this run, I decided to play Red Sun, since that game gave me access to Bug Charge, a chip that deals 80 damage and hits once for each turn that has passed in the battle. The thing about these evil chips is that they're only available in Game 3 or later, with Anubis, Muramasa, and Blackwing specifically being locked behind a door in Undernet 4, which requires you to have all 6 double souls and a fight against base. Bug Charge, however, is unique in that you can obtain it as early as Game 1. All you need to do is defeat Shademan Omega without letting this green mystery data be destroyed. This is a lot easier said than done, but with some hard work and dedication, I was able to obtain my Bug Charge in Game 1. However, while these specific chips are referred to as the evil chips in the game, the term evil chip actually refers to chips that can only be used by Dark Megaman. This list includes all DS Navi chips, Hole, Dark Line, Black Barrier, the Dark Neo Program Advance, and, most importantly of all, Static. By far, the best chip that you can use as Dark Megaman. Let's talk about that Static chip. At first, it seems like it's just the same as Tornado, and in a lot of ways, it actually is. Just like Tornado, it hits 8 times, dealing 20 damage per hit, and can have its damage doubled against enemies standing over a sand pit. And of course, since it hits 8 times, Attack Plus chips work extremely well on it. However, Static is actually much better than Tornado because it has a way better range and the ability to hit multiple enemies just by having some bugs on Mega Man. Basically, the more bugs you have on Mega Man, the more tiles they get hit by Static up until it hits a 2x3 range, similar to Life Sword, but starting 2 panels away from Mega Man like Tornado does. This lets you use Static to hit Navis in most spots on their field, or clear out groups of viruses. Because of this, I made sure to at least have a battle HP bug as well as a buster bug active in my Navi customizer at all times. Oh, and let's not forget that Static comes in the Star Code, which is a reward from International Net Area Battle Mystery Data. So, unsurprisingly, I spent my time getting 4 copies of Static Star as soon as I was able to in the game, and then built my folder around that chip. In exchange for the ability to use evil chips, however, there are some chips that you can't use as Dark Mega Man. Most notably, you can no longer use SP Navi chips, which is really unfortunate since it's a lot easier to increase their damage compared to DS Navi chips, which have their damage increased for each dark hole on the field. And dark holes can only be set up with Hole, the Dark Line Mega Chip, or Dark Stage. Otherwise, you're locked out of using Holy Panel and Sanctuary, which are useless anyways because when you step on a Holy Panel as Dark Mega Man, the Holy Panel disappears. You also can't use Holy Dream, of course, the Gun Soul chips, the Pile Driver Program Advance, Bug Fix, or the Delta Ray Giga Chip. And with the exception of Shademan and Laserman, you can't even use any regular Navi chips either. Losing SP Navi chips and the Sanctuary Holy Dream combo does hurt, but Static can more than make up for this in most situations. So of these chips, you may be curious as to which ones I use the most in this run. And the answer to that question is simple. I absolutely used Static the most. By far, it was the easiest chip to use, and was extremely easy to build a folder around since it comes in that star code. I did run Bug Charge, of course, and I used that one when possible, but I really didn't end up using it anywhere near as much as I thought that I would. That being said, Bug Charge can be an incredible tool for finishing off fights that have been going on for several turns. Admittedly, I shied away from trying to use Blackwing in the post-game because thanks to the Network Evolution video I made about that chip, I already knew going into this run that its damage wouldn't be anywhere near as high as I'd want it to be, and it would require way more setup than Static would. I also ignored most of the DS Navi chips, though I did try to keep multi-hitting chips, especially Video Man DS, in my folder for the majority of the run. And to go with Video Man, I pretty often used V-Code chips like the Blizzard and Element Ice combo. But looking at the chips that are available to use in a Dark Soul run, we can see that there's a lot of competition for your mega chips, seeing as Dark Line, Muramasa, Anubis, Blackwing, and Element Dark are all mega chips. As such, towards the end of the run, I tried keeping Mega Folder plus 2 in my Navi Cust as well, though this did make it a little bit harder to maintain my bugs for max static range. That being said, Mega Folder 2 was definitely a useful program to have to let me build a strong endgame folder utilizing as many of these evil chips as possible. Otherwise, my folders were somewhat standard for a Balnark 4 run. You can't really fill up your folder with only evil chips, so the vast majority of this run was watching Static go brrrr. Truly, Static is one of the best chips in Balnark 4, and it's a real shame that it got locked behind you needing to be Dark Megaman to use it. And as I'll be discussing in future videos, it also got pretty badly nerfed in Balnark 5. Unfortunately, as great as using dark chips was throughout the run, there were a couple of issues that had to be addressed in this run. One of these issues was a potential problem that could cause the run to become uncompletable, one issue was the cause of most of my deaths, and the final issue was just me being incredibly stupid. The first problem with a Dark Soul run in BN4 is the fact that there's actually a karma value threshold that can completely soft lock you, though in my case it would have meant I couldn't complete the run at all. In the post-game Black Earth area, there's a door that requires you to have all of the regular Navi chips to open it. And of course, you need to have obtained all of the SP Navi chips in order to get the Mega Chip Complete symbol on your title screen in order to battle against Gold Duo, and these requirements can lead to the soft lock. The issue is that when your karma is low, you will always get DS Navi chips as a reward for battles against Omega Navis, even if you S rank them. And if your karma gets too low, below a value of 300, you can permanently end up as Dark Megaman with no way to increase your karma back up to bring you to neutral Megaman. If this happens, it means that you can no longer obtain V1 or SP Navi chips. But this isn't really a problem, right? With the V1 Navi chips especially, you just get them from the beta version of the Navi. Except for Shademan, so if this happens, you can never get Shademan V1. Now, you could just trade for the chips or compare your library with someone to get them instead, but I couldn't do that for this run since I was playing on a secondary Switch profile, which doesn't have Nintendo Online with it. That being said, this potential soft lock was never going to be an issue for me personally. It's more of a warning for anyone else that may want to try to play the game as Dark Megaman. I had the exact opposite issue because I ended up using Static so often in random virus encounters that I would accidentally get myself back into neutral karma, only to end up in a position where because of my HP bug, I couldn't get myself in the worried state since my HP was too low to take hits, or I would end up in a battle against an Omega Navi, causing me to get deleted. This happened a lot. Just a lot. So, if you plan on doing a Dark Soul run for yourself, I have two pieces of advice for you. First, make sure that you use a Dark Chip or activate your Dark Soul at least once every 3 battles to maintain your low karma, and second, make sure you don't do so in every single battle either, or else you risk getting yourself soft locked by mistake. Granted, that takes like 160 battles or something ridiculous like that of using dark chips every single time. The exact number is on the Rockman EXE zone and I'm just too lazy to look it up right now. but still, you need to have a balance between using and not using your dark chips. And now for the fun part of the video, the battles. Like I said earlier, I can't go over every single battle in the game because there's just way too many. But what I will do is go over some of the highlights, starting with some of the tournament matches that I played in Game 2. On the second run of the game, I decided that I would abuse patch cards to do something that is impossible under normal circumstances. Use evil chips with double souls. Normally, using evil chips and using double souls is mutually exclusive, as you need to be in evil karma to use evil chips, and you need to be in neutral or light karma to use double souls. However, if your karma is low enough to use evil chips, you can use the double soul patch cards in Balnark 4 to activate double souls, shutting off your ability to use dark chips, but being able to use your double soul abilities with the evil chips. And seeing as static is a non-elemental chip rather than being wind type, yeah, Gut Soul was ridiculously strong in this run whenever I decided to use it. The most notable fight that I did while using Gut Soul was the second duo fight. We can really see the power of Gut Soul and Attack Plus 10 chips being used with static, as I was able to knock out 520 HP in an instant using only a Thunder 1 and a static on the first turn of this battle. And even when I didn't use attack modifying chips on static, just having Gut Soul on it brings its damage up to 400. With all 4 statics, that would be 1600 damage coming from just those 4 chips in your folder. So yeah, Gut Soul ironically works extremely well with evil chips. The best thing about using static against Duo is also the fact that it causes paralysis on him when he gets hit by it. Between Thunder and static, I was able to lock down Duo for long periods of time in this second fight, and between Gut Soul giving me increased damage on the static and giving me invulnerability frames on my Guts machine gun, I was able to easily beat Duo without breaking a sweat in the second game. Another important fight to bring up is the fight against Shademan Omega back in Game 1, because as I mentioned previously, I wanted to get access to Bug Charge as soon as possible. This fight kinda sucks, especially early on in the game. Shademan can end up destroying that mystery data in the battle when he splits up into bats after taking damage if he ends up in the top row. But after several attempts, I managed to obtain my copy of Bug Charge using the trusty Blizzard and Element Ice combo. Other than these fights though, there wasn't any particular one that I feel is absolutely necessary to go over in detail for this run. Most fights against Navis, including fights against their Alpha and Beta versions to get me their regular and DS Navi chips, mostly involved me using static and whatever dark chip the game gave me. But there was one Navi that I have to talk about. Base. It's obviously going to be Base. The first fight against Base in Undead 5 was actually simple enough in this run, seeing as that version of him doesn't have an aura. I just did whatever damage I could do to him, and then managed to finish him off with a 900 damage Dark Cannon while he was at around 800 HP. Piece of cake, really. But the only way for Dark Cannon to do this much damage would be for my max HP to be that high, which shouldn't be the case since I've been using Dark Chips a lot in this run. And here's where I reveal a little secret. I decided to use the patch cards available in the Legacy Collection that would increase Mega Man's max HP in exchange for an HP bug, with my allowed max HP increasing slightly as I played through the game. Now, these patch cards were a great way to keep my max HP high and help power up my Dark Cannons, but caused another major issue when it came to obtaining the Black Barrier Giga Chip. I wasn't fighting Base Omega for it. Rather, since I was using patch cards, I was forced into battling against Base XX for my final Giga Chip. And that fight is not easy at all. Between a max HP of 4000 and a regenerating barrier, dealing with Base XX is no simple task. Don't get me wrong, I was able to defeat him on a few occasions, but the trick was getting at least a 7 rank against him so that I could get that copy of Black Barrier. Eventually, I did manage to get a great fight against Base XX, during which I got his HP down to 600 and opened a custom window while he was using his Buster Rake attack directly in front of me, while I had Muramasa ready to go. A little bit of sandbagging while waiting for the custom HP bug to make my Muramasa stronger, and I finally managed to defeat Base XX to get my Black Barrier. Time to save my game, and I wasn't gonna die. I had iframes, I knew what I was doing. Now let's see if I can do it cleaner. We did it. I saved. Don't worry, I saved.
A few moments later.
Hold on. You paralyzed? Ow! Dark Cannon. Wow, I can hit him with it. I couldn't dodge. I should recover. I couldn't dodge. Alright, well. That's okay. Just fighting him for fun at this point. The rematch did not go well now. But that's okay. I did save, right? Oh my god, I thought I saved and I hadn't saved. Yeah, that was incredibly stupid of me. I tried to get another 7 rank against Space for the next 2 hours, failing to do so, and eventually just deciding to break my own rules and start putting invis in my folder due to me getting several 6 ranks when I did defeat him. Space broke me on that evening, and I even had to end my finale stream without having Black Barrier after that huge f*** up. The next night, I completely changed up my strategy, by which I mean I stopped trying to use the Dark Neo program advance, which honestly isn't all that great against Space XX anyways, and used Blackwing instead, which helped me to finally get my Black Barrier once again, at a grand total of 94 deaths, over 30 of which were to Base XX alone. But after that stressful situation, all I had left to do was to take on Golden Duo, and after the, let's call it a warm-up against Space XX, I knew that going into it, Duo wouldn't be too much of an issue. Evil folders just have way too high of a damage potential, and like I said earlier, being able to paralyze Duo with static is ridiculously strong. Of course, I did still have some failed attempts against Gold Duo, mostly because your Dark Soul doesn't spare you from the Cold Embrace of Death in the fights against him. But in the end, I managed to finish the run in the most appropriate way possible, landing a static to paralyze Duo and defeat him with a powerful Muramasa. And that right there is the true benefit of a Dark Soul run in this game. Now, while I would want to finish the video off here, there's actually one last thing that I need to mention, which I forgot to do earlier in my script, so I'm just throwing it in here now. In this run, I played without invis up until I had to break that rule in order to defeat Base XX with a 7 rank, but that's not the only place where I technically broke a rule, though to be fair, in this instance, it actually was mandatory for me to do so. Remember that earlier in the video I mentioned that you cannot get SP Navi chips from battles while you're playing as Dark Megaman? Well, if you can't get the SP Navi chips, then you can't get that Mega Chip Complete icon on your title screen, which effectively means that you have no access to the Gold Duo fight. So in order for me to be able to collect the SP Navi chips, I needed to take the time to S-rank all of the Navis in the game to get their SP chips while playing with neutral Karma. That meant no Dark chips, no Muramasa, and no static. Now, this obviously wasn't too big of an issue for me, seeing as that's how I generally play the Balnark games anyways. But as it turns out, there actually is a way to get the SP Navi chips even while you're Dark Megaman. Well, kind of. It turns out that your Karma value changes before you get the reward for a battle, which is how you could get DS Navi chips even if you were playing as Light Megaman if you used a Dark chip in that battle. So I decided to try using this to my advantage. In some battles, I was able to use my full Dark folder, including my Statics, Muramasa, and Bug Charge to get S ranks against Omega Navis. Then, if my Karma would go up from that battle, which of course meant no using Dark chips or my Dark Soul, I would end up getting the SP Navi chip as a reward. I couldn't reliably do this to every Navi in the game, but could do it against Navis with guaranteed encounters in their area via the use of programs like Oil Body or Battery, such as Fireman and Thunderman. And with that, I can finally say that I beat Mega Man Balnark 4 using Dark Megaman and successfully avoided soft-locking myself. And I've gotta say, I definitely had a great time with this run. Between my viewers making constant jokes about Mega Man slowly becoming feral as I kept sending him Dark chips, and the hilarity that ensues when you have a chip as powerful as Static in the Star Code, this run was a great time from beginning to end, even including the 30+ battles against Space XX to finish it off. I genuinely mean it when I say that if you have the option to do so, you should absolutely give a Dark Soul run in Balnark 4 a try for yourself. I might even redo this run at some point in the future without the HP mod cards so that I'd be playing the entire run at just 1 HP. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and comment down below to let me know if you've ever played a dark run of this game or if you plan on trying it out for yourself. And of course, keep an eye out for my upcoming Balnark 5 dark run, which I'll most likely be streaming at some point after the new year. Before that though, you can catch me playing through the Legacy Collection with the goal of collecting every trophy, which requires me to get every single chip in Balnark 1. I have no idea why I decided to do that to myself. But anyways, as always, thanks for watching.